Welcome back to another thing. All eyes, of course, for, well, seemingly forever have been on the presidential race and the presidential polling. The Monmouth University poll has become one of the tops in the country, and Patrick Murray is the director of Monmouth Polling. Thank you so much for being here. There has been so much emphasis on polls. It seemed to be for a while that's all Donald Trump talked about. But I don't think people talk enough about the effects of polling on the election. Do people change their mind or change their vote based on a poll?
They don't change their mind based on a poll, but we have seen this phenomenon in the past where those who want to vote for a third-party candidate, which is significant this year, will make an evaluation at the very end about whether they're wasting their vote or not. I've actually done a lot of research for this in not in presidential elections, but in Senate and gubernatorial elections, and that continues to be the theme, is that they're looking to see if the third-party candidate is viable in any way. There's still some people who will always vote for the third-party candidate if that's what they feel in this election. And certainly this election has enough voters who are turned off by both major party candidates that they are going to do that. The question is, how much support are they going to get? Is it going to be 4% for Gary Johnson, or is it going to be 8% for Gary Johnson in any given state? And one of the things that we're starting to find right now is that the third-party support is slipping in swing states.
And why do you think that is?
Because it gets down to my vote actually counts here.
Oh, that's
right?
Interesting.
So, and you know, some of these northeastern states like New Jersey or Delaware or New York or Maryland.
You can be a conscientious objector.
Yeah, you can see, because you know it's not going to change the outcome of who gets the electoral votes from your state. But if you're in Pennsylvania, it matters.
It seems like people trust polls more than they have in the past. It's almost sacrosanct.
It gets to the point where I was just saying there's polls all over the place right now, which means that if you support Hillary Clinton or you support Donald Trump, you can find a poll out there that's going to support your point of view, and you trust that poll. You don't trust the other polls, right? So, and that's the problem, is that there's a lot more noise out there in polling this year than there ever has been. Even in the past, when we've complained there's some bad polls out there, you usually can identify, oh, if we knock these two polls off and just look at the other 5 or 6 polls, we probably have a better sense. Now there's just too many of them. Do the candidates trust your polls, or do they just trust their internal polling? Candidates usually just trust their internal polling.
Because I see when you can tell by where they're campaigning if they pulled states out. You know, you may not have pulled a state off and said this is no longer a battleground state, but it seems like the candidates do early on.
Right. Yeah, they do. For example, one of the things is we polled Colorado back in July and found Hillary Clinton up by 13 points. And then a bunch of polls came out in September that showed it a tight race, or even Donald Trump up in Colorado. The thing was, Hillary Clinton was not spending any money in Colorado that whole time. So,
and I don't think Trump's been in Colorado either.
Well, he actually has been in Colorado, and in fact, he showed up. He spent some time in Colorado, spent some money in Colorado. He actually showed up on the day we released our second poll in Colorado in early October, which showed, oh, by the way, she was up by 13 points in July. She's still up by 11 now. I don't know whether those polls that came out in September, because they were all one-shot first-time polls in Colorado, were accurate, or if whatever she was losing in September bounced back in early October. So the day he was actually in Colorado, we came out with a poll that showed him behind by 11 points, which seems to suggest that our polling is jibing with what internal polling had been showing all along.
You keep hearing about Pennsylvania. Is Pennsylvania, every year it seems like it's fool's gold for the Republicans. Yes. They think they can win Pennsylvania and they never can. Is it in play this year at all?
I mean, it's in play, but I think Hillary Clinton definitely has the upper hand. And here's why, is because of the Philadelphia suburbs. Philadelphia, whatever direction the Philadelphia suburbs go, that's who wins the race. And right now you have two groups.
In Pennsylvania, or the whole thing?
The whole state, wins the whole state. Okay. So what happens is you have the Democratic base out of Philadelphia, and then you have these white-educated, college-educated voters who tend to vote Republican, who live in Bucks County and Montgomery County, and they, particularly women among them, white women with a college degree, look at Donald Trump and say, I cannot vote for this guy. And so Hillary Clinton is up by a lot in that area. This is an area that she spent a lot of time on. They've sent Barack Obama there. This is where you can track where they feel that They need to just shore up the bases wherever they're sending Barack Obama. So they did the same thing last week in Cleveland, where they sent Barack Obama there. And that's exactly what our polling was showing, is that's where he needed his boost. I mean, that's where she needed her boost if she's going to win Ohio, is in Cleveland. And I think it's no surprise that LeBron James also, I think that actually is going to have a certain impact. People laugh that off. But within a certain community in the Cleveland area, that is going to have enough of an impact to boost turnout.
Oh, and she needs passion among the African-American
Right.
vote.
And we've seen polls recently that suggest that the enthusiasm gap has closed between her voters and Donald Trump voters, is that she's now equal with them.
And when you talk about Philadelphia, I keep thinking I'm going to run into Joe Biden in a Wawa, because he seems to be, to have camped out there.
He was just in Scranton too the other day.
He's constantly there. Thank you, sir. I appreciate you stopping by to talk to us. Patrick Murray, the director of Monmouth Polling. When we come back, Dawn.